Well, let's move on to today's Tech Corner. You know, we've covered, let's go over here to our, squeeze past
the gauge cam.
Our gauge cam. You know, we've covered wireless multimeters in the past, so I won't go into a lot of detail about why they're very useful tools, but I do want to talk about one today. This is from RedFish Industries. It's called the iDVM. You'll notice that the DVM itself is simply a box, a black box, no display. It's got the probes coming out, does your usual multimeter stuff, volts, ohms, amps, milliamps, millivolts, AC, DC, that sort of stuff. No display, because the display is actually either an iPhone or an iPad or an iPod Touch. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot about what the multimeter does, because other things do the same, other products do the same thing. What this has that is very unique is data logging capability. So I'm going to just jump right into data logging. If we look at our iPhone, in this case, app, you see a digital multimeter on there, and it would I could take the probes here and I could start measuring things, and you would see the real-time display change as I mess around with the probes. If I click on the graph button down here and get closer to the camera, you can see it's also looks something like a strip chart recorder, and you can see that it's taking data, and that data is being displayed on this log down here on this strip chart. It isn't currently collecting data right now, it's just displaying it. I'm not storing data anywhere, but we can. So I'm going to set up for some data logging. I'm going to come over here to my settings, and I can set up a sample rate of anywhere from 20 samples per second down to 1 sample per hour. I'll leave it at 20 for now. I can set up a recording time. If I want to do unattended data logging, I can set this up to record data for a minute or an hour or up to 24 hours, which means I'll start recording, and at the specified time it will simply stop recording for unattended data logging. So I have it set up right now for 20 samples per second. We're going to go back, and I'm going to select millivolts. I'm going to select millivolts there. Oh, come on. Millivolts, there we go. And it's collecting, and I'm going to hit record. Now, while it's recording some data, I'll tell you a couple other things you can do with this. Right now it's set up to take a data stream, so it's collecting data at 20 samples per second. You can also set this up to do point at a time, where every time you hit the record button, it simply measures 1 point. The other thing this will do, which I think is really useful and very interesting, is it will talk to you. If you can't see the display, maybe you got your head inside a box and you can't really see the display. I put my head inside a box all the time. Come on. But it will talk to you. It will tell me what the reading is. So if I hit 7.1. Here, I'll hold this up to my mic here. 7.6. See if you can hear that. 7.6. Okay, I'm tired of that. Okay, so hopefully you heard that. And that actually is, it seems like a kind of a gimmicky feature, but there are times when I've had a multimeter and I swear I wish the thing was talking to me. Okay, we've collected enough data. I'm going to turn my recording off. Now I'm going to come up here to my file, and you see it's stored some files. The one at the top is the file I've just stored. If I click on it, well, what do we see? Well, we have a graph up at the top. I have some statistics at the bottom. Being an iPhone, iPad, I could zoom into these statistics. I can also look at the samples. So these are actually my sample data. It's got a date and time stamp over here on the left, and the reading here on the right. And of course, as you might expect, all this can be exported. We'll get to the export in just 1 second. I do want to show you one other feature. So let's say you've taken all your data, and you're now ready to send it out. You need to send it to another program so you can do analysis on it. So you're going to, let's say, email it to yourself. Well, first of all, we got to disconnect from the DVM. The DVM actually operates on Wi-Fi. So I'm going to disconnect from the DVM. I'm going to choose my local area network, which would be the QD network. Or if you had a broadband device, you would actually connect to your broadband. Now I'm going to go back into my DVM. Okay, so now I'm back into my data here. I'm going to say, let's go back and look at our data again, and let's look at the details. So let's say I'm a remote maintenance technician. I'm doing pipeline checks. So I want to put in where I took this data. So I can click in my description box, and I can just say this is a test. I can enter in my name as my user, and the next one is really slick. I typed in dork. that purely was an accident.
And not for the first time.
Not the first time. I can ask for my location. This is a device that knows where my location is. I can click on my location. It will allow me now to enter my latitude and longitude and my street address, if it's known, into my details. Now, suppose you are a remote maintenance tech and you're out making, doing your remote maintenance, let's say on a pipeline, and you have to record where on the pipeline you are. I have now just recorded my latitude, longitude, and my address into my details. Now I can save it. I can now export my data, and I have several ways of how I can export data, but let's say we can export it as email. I want to send, let's say, my actual samples, which would be in CSV format, a picture of the actual graph, which I can send, let's say, as a PDF. I can also send it as a PNG, and also the statistics that were calculated by the iDVM software itself. And I can just say, let's mail all that to me, and then I bring up my mail program and email that data to myself. And now I can go to my computer, download that data, and there we go. So coming back around here. So here's the interesting thing about this. This is a, this product costs about $300. Mm-hmm. But you have to have an iPhone or an iPad to rent it. So you might go, gosh, if I don't have one of those, do I now want to pop for, let's say, $200 for an iPod Touch, mm-hmm. which you can also use with it? Depends on your application. Maybe yes, maybe no. If you are a field, to me, the really interesting thing is this whole ability to data log and data collect over a scheduled amount of time, and the ability to log location. Mm-hmm. I can see where this and even the purchase of an iPhone, iPad device, later on hopefully Droid, is super useful. I mean, I can really see where a $500 expenditure, what might make a lot of sense for this type of product. So it's very interesting. It's unique. There really isn't anything that does this with the data logging part of it.
Right, right. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here on TechCorner on QDL is present these kind of unique solutions. If you have one that you want us to cover here on Quality Digest Live, just email us as usual at QDL@qualitydigest.com, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll get back to you, and we'll let you know if we're going to put it on the air.
That's right.
So great. So thank you for RedFish for providing that to us.
That's right.